we have these huge communities where, I mean, let's face it, the vast majority of our kids are not being raised with fathers in the home. Okay, I mean, and we have these huge crime rates. Like I said, blacks represent about half the homicide victims in this country, and we only represent 12% of the general population. Something's seriously wrong. So what do you think is going on here?
Well, I mean, you have a system that gives them these ridiculous parole conditions once they get out. I mean, they have no chance. They absolutely have.
Well, how do they get in there in the first place?
I mean, they get in there on if you're black, it's on stupidness. You don't have enough, you don't have the money to get out on the average thing that a white person gets out on. I'm white. I've been there, but I could also get out.
Yeah, but I mean, but how do they get there in the first place? I think there's a lack of leadership. I think there's a lack of fathers in a home. I think you have.
Right, I agree with that, but it all starts because you have HUD. Now, if you live in HUD and you commit a crime, it's designed to destroy the black family. The husband can never go home to the family because he has a criminal record. He cannot live in that house. So now the black family is completely destroyed. This is an act. This is done purposely.
Oh, I understand. I understand that the black family has been targeted over decades with the war on drugs, with bias in legislation, bias in law enforcement. However, there's been a lot of discrimination facing black people for the longest. There's still the problem of us committing these crimes to begin with. I mean, we still have to commit the crimes to get eaten up by the system. Oh yeah, I'm saying that. I understand there is a systematic bias put in place. But if you know there's a systematic bias put in place, how the heck can you have all these damn kids and not take care of them? I mean, how can you create all these kids and not support them? How can you put yourself in these stupid situations to begin with? And I don't know what came first. Did we started to do stupid stuff? We started to have our women started to have kids with irresponsible men, and we started to destroy our family, or maybe our family was systematically targeted and destroyed. As a result, it started a cycle that increased the likelihood of us doing stupid stuff and continuing to destroy the family. So, what came first?
I believe it was a systematic destruction. If you look back and if you've watched the documentary Moffat 21, I mean, where it talks about how Planned Parenthood came into existence, and its real purpose of coming into existence. You can't look at California and how the black community was thriving. You're talking about in the 50s and things like that, where I've worked for an all-black company. I was the only white guy on an all-black construction crew, and this man took more heat for me than it was terrible. But I think it was systematic. I truly do, and I think we're looking at the results now and trying to blame these people for being led like sheep.
Well, don't get me started on Planned Parenthood, okay? Margaret Sanger, is that her name? Sanger? Okay, Sanger. Isn't she the lady who was talking about basically eugenics for the Negroes and how to get rid of the black race or reduce their population?
And the Jews.
And she was pretty much the founder of Planned Parenthood.
Yes, she was the founder.
When I read about that, I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, she's unbelievable.
And they weren't making it up, because what I did, I went on Google and I actually searched for news articles. Okay, actually images, news articles of this woman, her quotes, and I found them myself. It's absolutely insane. I guess you got to look it up yourself, but I actually found an actual printing of the news articles. Maybe I'm mistaken, but it seems like she was a lunatic.
She was, and we have people, her and Albert Pike, and they were all together, and they were the ones who led Hitler into his eugenics, with the Jews. That's where he got the prototype from, was from them, from Albert Pike, from her. I mean, it's really sick, but this has been planned for years, and it's coming right. It's worked exactly as they have planned it.
Here comes another call. Hey, welcome to the show. Hey, welcome. You're on air, live.
Hey, Dick, thanks for having me on again. I was on a few weeks ago. My last question when I was on was about the sequester, but today's question is not. I was watching an interview with James Wesley Rawls, and you've interviewed him before.
Yeah.
And, we're always discussing the economy and, whether the dollar will collapse and everything. But he mentions that he doesn't think things would get real bad unless a grid went down or something like that. Here's my question. Do you think if the grid ever went down, do you think it would be by design, by the government? Would they do something like that before they'd actually collapse like the stock market or...
I don't know. Maybe they're gearing for a situation where the power grid does go down. Maybe that explains why they're buying all that damn ammunition. Maybe that explains why they need big-ass tanks for homeland security. I wouldn't put it past them. I wouldn't put it past them at all. I don't know what they have planned, but what do you think?
I tend to agree with him on that. I think most people would be able to adjust to like a slow economic decline.
Yeah.
Because I think most people would come together if the changes weren't like real sudden. But I think like if the grid went down, that's going to mess up logistics, transportation, and I just think there'd be just too many people that wouldn't be able to deal with it. And then things could snowball from there.
When if China and Russia and some other countries came up with an alternative to the U.S. dollar? Because that's why I think we went into Iraq. That's why I think we went into Libya. Because those leaders challenged the primacy of the petrodollar. When if they came up with an alternative and all of a sudden they didn't need a U.S. dollar. And they just started to move away from the dollar. Now, obviously, China will be hurt if they dump all their dollars. But what if they just started to, within a period of 5 years or so, start to go with another currency? We would either have to have war or a total collapse. Because the federal government couldn't function without the petrodollar. It couldn't function without the creation of new dollars.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's something to think about. I'm not quite sure I think it's definitely possible. I mean, anytime they're willing to start wars to prop up the system, why not that? Because that's why I think we went into Iraq. It wasn't because Saddam had weapons of mass destruction, or Al Qaeda had Iraq had ties to Al Qaeda or whatever. I think it was to protect the U.S. dollar. They were trying to sell. Saddam was trying to sell oil in euros. You had in Libya, you had Gaddafi trying to work with other African nations to create a gold-backed currency. That's the reason why our government is doing the desperate things that it's doing. So if they're willing to do that, why not take down a power grid? Especially if they know that the economy is going to fall apart anyway.
I just don't think that most Americans are going to turn into zombies because maybe they don't have a little extra money in their pocket because their standard of living decreased. I really think it would have to be something like the grid because, then there's the possibility that we're not even getting food on the shelves. I don't think most Americans, are just going to freak out and start, turn on one another because they don't have enough money to, buy a new, materialistic type.
Well, that's not a real without rule of law type of scenario. That's not a real scenario. A real economic collapse would be a situation where the derivatives get completely out of control. You have a credit lockdown. You have banks shutting down. People can't get access to their money. They can't pay their bills. People losing their life savings. The dollar devaluation is taking effect. Your $100,000 will only buy one fourth of what it used to buy a few weeks ago. That's the type of situation where you'll have people turning on one another. Situation where there's just no way to keep up all these systems that the government has going because they no longer have the means of creating the currency and still getting people to work for a devalued currency. Now that would create a chaotic type of situation. But yeah, as long as the grid, they can keep the grid going. They should be decent. It should be okay. But can they keep a grid going when it's 40 to 50 years out of date? Well, I should say maybe 10 or 20 years out of date because they were supposed to upgrade it every 50 years or so. We have an aging power grid. And the problem there is that we've been spending our money on other programs instead of focusing on our infrastructure. So that's the question. Can they keep it up? So good point, man. Thanks for calling. All right, take care. Bye. So yeah, I mean it's a good point. Okay, zombies don't attack their own kind. Well, I don't know why people keep bringing up the zombie analogy, but they do. Hey, welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Okay, I guess nothing's on your mind. Dimcat, have you ever thought about running for city council? Well, no, because there's not a lot I can really do at a city council. You know, I don't have a lot in common with most of the people around here. I'm a libertarian. Most of the people in my area are definitely black, so they're the complete opposite of what I am, economically and socially. So I wouldn't have much appeal around here anyway. And frankly, hey, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hey. What's on your mind?
Dimcat.
Yep. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I just want to talk about the topic that you brought up about the black males and the single parent. Well, with the raising of the black youth.
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, I think what it is when you look at some of these areas, urban areas, and the lack of jobs, usually in areas where there's poverty, there tends to be a higher crime rate. Now, I don't think that's an excuse for there to be crime. There definitely needs to be more entrepreneurship amongst blacks. But I mean, the crazy thing about it is, and I'll just leave on this note is, if in a scenario, if shit does hit the fan, wouldn't gang members have the upper hand on the rest of us?
In the black community?
Well, in any community, it doesn't matter what gang. It doesn't matter if they're a white gang,
a newly formed gang, or whatever. Will they have the upper hand? It depends on what your definition of a gang is. I mean, what type of gangs are we talking about? Are we talking about the criminal gangs that exist now? Are we talking about gangs that may exist because of the circumstances?
When I think of gangs, I think of LA, for example, LA street gang, where there's like 20,000 members, 30,000 members. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of people, that are already on the streets and kind of have that advantage of how to survive on the street over a lot of people. So it's almost kind of like, shouldn't we all just be joining gangs too?
Well, but that's 20,000 people you have to feed as well. And a lot of those gangs are easily identifiable. And that could be a big disadvantage. Because a lot of people who would be afraid of you under normal times might be in a different position if there is a SHTF. What I mean by that is, if there's some gang members walking around with all these tattoos and they're talking trash and, people run away, they move away, if you were to pull out a gun and shoot them in the head, there will be legal ramifications for you, right? But under SHTF, the same 4 or 5 idiots walking around with their tattoos talking trash or putting guns in people's face, they're going to be easy targets. People are going to know who they are. They're going to stick out. And who's to say regular folks won't take them out?
Well, just by far as the numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the situation. I don't know. I don't know a lot about gangs. You guys can tell me more about it. But one thing I do notice is that a lot of these guys are easily identifiable. But yeah.
But not when they're all looking like and have the same haircut and wear the same tattoos.
No, I'm just saying certain gangs. I have one particular gang in mind, but I'm not going to go there. Certain particular people, especially if you're wearing certain colors or whatever, wearing a lot of them do stick out. Now, I'm not saying that what's going to happen for sure. I'm just saying there's possible disadvantages to having being in a large gang as well. So I don't know. I haven't even thought about that. Oh, my mute is on? No. Okay. You there?
True.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I for one, if the SHTF, it hits the fan, I don't want to be a type of person out there starting trouble. I want to stay home and stay out of the mess. That's what I gotta say. Yeah, somebody put, a large gain equals lots of mouths to feed. You know, it's gangs will destroy their immediate area, then fight over gang territories. I mean, who cares about gang territories when you don't have any damn food? I mean, you would have to change the entire purpose of the game, the entire thought process of the organization. And it's very difficult to do that with any organization, really. So, hey, welcome. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, I got so much on my mind, Jim Ken. How you been, homie?
Oh, I've been doing all right.
I have missed you so much, baby. I swear to God, I've missed you, baby.
Hey, what's on your mind? What was that?
There's a lot on my mind, honey bun. I was down there. Now, I went to go get me some watermelon, and there was flies buzzing around my face.
I think you're missing an audition somewhere in Hollywood. I think you're missing an audition. You know, this isn't a phone audition for some movie. Here we go. Oh man. Okay, troll. That was Joe Biden telling me to just get a shotgun. You know, just get a shotgun. Just get a shotgun, guys. You know, you hear something in the middle of the night, just get a shotgun. I'm gonna unload this. You know, I'm gonna deviate from Joe Biden's advice. You know, he says, you know what? If you hear something in the middle of the night or whatever, just step on out on the porch. Just blast to. You know, it's like somebody should turn that into like a song or something. Just step on outside, just blast to. Hey man, what's up? What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Brother D?
A lot, man. A lot going on. I'm glad you called.
Yeah, it was funny watching you try to struggle to keep a straight face there. Yeah.
I knew it was a prank call, but I had to keep it together. Just long enough so that I was definitely sure it was a prank call. But you know,
yeah, classic. I'm sitting here just to give you a little heads up for your channel. It looks like the Cypriots got their bailout, but
what were the conditions?
Yeah, you'll hear about it later. One of our prop room desks came up with it. One of the bank desks. Anyways, onto what you were talking about for the black families, and just to give you, because a lot of folks don't have a construct of what history really is, or I should say our story, or better yet, the record. Literally, we're talking something that's decades deep. Okay, everything from the welfare state to, you know, I mean, just basically a systematic destruction. And right now, we're living I won't say the rewards, but we're really the reaping of that systematic destruction that happened with black families for decades. And when shit starts to hit the fan, you're going to get even more and more of it making itself apparent for the fact that you're going to have a lot of opportunists. When you were talking about the gangs, there's no doubt about it. Folks are going to be forming cliques, clans, gangs, whatever you want to call it, for survival mechanism, especially when there's a lot of opportunity. And that's why I'm glad you said that this is not the time where folks should start wanting to do the wrong thing, because as that starts to happen, you're going to get more people entrenched buying more protective measures, i.e. more guns, whether they might even get in IEDs, whatever it is, to try to protect themselves from these, like I said, this decades and decades of systematic destruction. And it's not just black families. Anyone that's been marginalized, but it's mostly black.
Yeah, I mean, you're starting to see it in other parts. You're starting to see a lot of white families be affected by this. You see a breakdown of families in the white population, the Latino population, although they still have a better sense of a family. I guess that's my perception. You know, there's still some. A lot of those families are still together, but you do see families in general. Families breaking down. Like I said before, you can't have a strong country without strong communities, and you can't have strong communities without strong families. The question is this a country? You know,
it may be a series of clandoms, for lack of a better term, little cliques, survival-led cliques, not too unlike The Walking Dead, for lack of a better term, or Revolution.
Or Revolution. I gotta watch that. Yeah, Walking Dead's on right now, speaking of which, but I'll get that later on. So what else would you like to share with us?
Well, I mean, I'm just telling you, you're doing doing good. give you a little heads up on the possible Cypriot situation.
So how's that going to affect the rest of the country? Well, the rest of the world.
What I can tell you, without getting myself into trouble, or without creating a panic, is they've set a precedent, for lack of a better term. Okay.
That doesn't sound good.
That will happen, but they've already pretty much made that with the fact you're getting negative interest rates, pretty much. But they're gonna make it right now de facto. But you may see it kind of be, for lack of a better term, standardized. Okay,
so let me put it another way: who's getting robbed, or is it too soon to speak on that?
We'll talk on Skype.
All right, man. Thanks for calling.
Okay, you got it.
All right, guys. On that note, I'm gonna end the show with that right there. I appreciate you guys calling. I really do. I had a pretty good time. Please don't listen to Joe Biden's advice. Just step on out on the balcony and actually he's talking about a double-barrel shotgun. But anyway, use common sense, people. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Appreciate the chat. And don't forget, the future belongs to those who prepare for it today. Bye.